Mr. Chair, I move the closed meeting be adjourned and the Fluvanna County Board of Supervisors convene again in open session. Be resolved, the Board of Supervisors does hereby certify to the best of each member's knowledge. One, only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements under section 2.2-3711A of the Code of Virginia 1950 as amended. And two, only such public business matters as were identified in the motion by which the closed meeting was convened were heard, discussed, or considered in the meeting.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. O'Brien, seconded by Mr. Sheridan. Mr. Goode. I mean Hodge.
Aye.
Mr. Sheridan.
Aye.
Mr. O'Brien.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. 5-0. Yeah.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, members of the board's got a few things to report. Happy early birthday, Mr. O'Brien. We're not going to ask you how old.
Oh, I know.
Just,
I do. I'm no longer tied.
it's a little sad being the oldest guy up here. So.
I want to introduce welcome a new employee, Sean Martin. She began with the Social Services Department as a Benefit Program Specialist 3. She started April 8th. Welcome, Sean Martin. One update, so remember, as part of the budget process, we were discussing that Debbie Smith submitted for a grant for our generator for the community center down in Fort Union. We just got a notification that we were awarded the grant, so good news. So it was $141,000 total. So the state share is $94,470 and the local share is $46,530. And again, you know, it was intended to use the shelter grant to put emergency generator down at the community center for just general power outages, whether it's heating, cooling, whether it's during winter storms or things like that. It provides us a county facility to kind of, without having to implement and start up the whole emergency shelter at the high school. It gives us a smaller footprint to be able to get moving on. So happy to get that grant award. Also, there's a new fence around the soccer fields at Pleasant Grove Park that was completed on April 5th. Again, it was in the fiscal year 24 approved CIP project for $60,000. After getting all the proper bids, a contract was awarded to Joe Phillips Fence for $42,240. So the county saved $17,000 and some change on that. And I'm not sure if you've been out to the Pleasant Grove Park, but looks great. And I know Mr. Spitzer's happy. It'll keep his fields in great shape. And I'll make sure it'll certainly allow or not allow people to go do donuts on the field like they have in the past. So. Electricity was also installed at the new front stage at Pleasant Grove Park, finishing phase 2 of the project. So again, phase 1 was 5,000 materials, and the labor was provided for free by Zachary Harris's Eagle Scout project. And phase 2 was funded through the CRM for the electricity. And then phase 3 is to construct basically a stage cover. Those funds were approved in the fiscal year 24 budget for $70,000. So we'll be looking at some options for covers for both, again, for the front stage, and we'll see if we can expand that $70,000 to maybe do something for both stages too. So if there's any changes in that, we'll come back to the board for that. And then drive-through rabies clinic is going to be at Pleasant Grove Park on Saturday, April 27th from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. It's $10 cash only. And again, pre-registration forms can be returned to the clinic prior. And if you want to pick up one, you can pick one up at the FSPCA, or you can scan the QR code here to register in advance. This Saturday, April 20th, also at Pleasant Grove Park, Fluvanna County will have Earth Day. It's not for hazardous waste. It's only for the tire drop off. Again, Saturday, April 10th from 9 to 11 a.m. Must present a valid ID and arrive early. When both of the trucks are full, the event will close. And again, it's tires only, no tractor tires, no big rig tires, and again, no electronics, no hazardous waste, no business disposal. So like I said, looking forward to getting a lot of tires thrown at us this weekend.
Moving trucks or trailers? I mean, literally like a van with the trailer doesn't count, or?
No, it can only be a pickup and what you can fit in a pickup.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So people,
It could be a van. It can be a cargo van.
it cannot be a cargo van.
Oh, okay.
No, Mr. Spitzer, no cargo vans, right?
Yeah, we don't do trailers. We try to limit them to 15 tires. for
Yeah.
3 vehicles.
Yep.
Okay.
But I will say this, again, it's per trip. We've had multiple people do multiple trips.
I
So,
thought it closed up pretty quickly then.
yeah. So anyway.
Obviously I have some tires to get rid of, so.
Yeah. And then please join the Fluvanna County Department of Social Services for celebrating Children's Fair. It's a free informational resource fair, Saturday, April 27th from 10 to 12 p.m. at Carriesbrook Elementary. Everyone is invited, families, children, and caregivers. There's a free admission, free activities, free information, free snacks, and free giveaways. And April 21st through 27th is National Crime Victims' Rights Week. Time to raise awareness of options, services, and hope for crime survivors. And again, many victims need ongoing care, support, and resources. And this National Crime Victims Week, join us in being there for survivors and letting them know that help is available. And anyone wanting assistance can contact the Fluvanna County Victim Witness Assistance Program at 434-591-1985. And upcoming meetings, like I said, so April 24th, we have a to be determined. If we adopt the budget tonight, I'm hoping we can get rid of the to be determined. So we have April 24th, the to be determined for budget adoption. May 1, we have a 5 p.m. regular meeting. Then May 15th, we have a 6 p.m. regular meeting. And I'd be happy to answer any questions from the board.
I'm leaving Monday morning one way or another, so I won't be here with you all. Got to do it next week.
Mr. Hodge,
Yes,
I've been riding down the road listening to the radio all week. 50th anniversary.
Yes, it is. We had a picnic this last Saturday.
Had a what?
Picnic at the Lake Monticello Firehouse.
Oh,
There was about 350, 400 people there. Everyone had a pretty good time
So it was last Saturday.
this last Saturday.
I'm a day late every time it's free food.
We are going to have a community safety awareness day, and we're going to schedule that in the autumn. So it'll be along the same lines and themes, events, activities, free food.
All right, I thought that was coming up this Saturday.
All right,
I've been riding too much.
we'll now open up the first round of public comment. Anyone wishing to address the board? Anyone wishing to address the board should come to the podium. State your name and address. Please remember to keep your comments to 5 minutes on topic and direct to the board. Anybody wishing to speak?
I'll go first if nobody else wants to go. Kim Highland, 1015 Poplar Spring Road, Scottsville. Thank you, guys. Great to see you all here. Kate has done very well with her driving. She got her driver's license on Monday, so thank you for her education. I understand. I'm sure you guys know why I'm here. I understand you guys all have a really difficult decision to make with this budget. And I believe you guys are doing a really good job with safeguarding the taxpayers' money. A great job. So I appreciate that. That's of the utmost importance. I just want to clarify for everybody a little bit about what the role Fluvanna Louisa Housing Foundation plays in supporting the county government. I didn't understand the symbiotic role between government and nonprofits before I took this leadership position for the foundation. My experience with government was with the federal government. I was a defense contractor selling aircraft weapon systems to foreign allies through the US Navy. So definitely not nonprofit. That's definitely a space where nonprofits don't exist. Leading a nonprofit, though, I discovered there's sort of a broad umbrella for nonprofits that I did not understand before. Some are adversarial with the government. They might be defending what they feel is a mistreatment or somebody has been taken advantage of or some sort of need for intervention. There's also There's many that they're completely privately funded. Some are political and they advocate for a particular viewpoint, and some are collaborative with the government. So whether it's federal, state, or local. I'm going to read you a really short thing from some university courses that teach about this. A government agency may want to partner with a nonprofit organization to cut costs to taxpayers. This contracting out has been a trend in government over the past several decades. Whether it's a desire to shrink the size of government or identify competencies and expertise not held by the agency, contracting out aims to ensure that the program is being provided without the government having to undertake it. Housing falls in this area. A nonprofit's work may complement or supplement existing government services or may provide services that government does not offer. Government may contract with nonprofits to provide community services to meet their own public responsibilities. So we don't have a housing department like a lot of rural county governments, and we contract those services out, or kind of like the PDC. They provide services rather than us performing them in-house. This is the role Fluvanna Louisa Housing plays for Fluvanna County. It relates to the health, the safety, and the welfare of our residents, and the social, economical, and physical development of our communities. If there was stock that you get for $30,000 and it paid back in dividends of hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, you would buy it. You'd probably want to buy more. And that's what you guys have purchased so far with Fluvanna Louisa Housing. You've put in a very small investment, and every year it pays back hundreds of thousands of dollars straight back in our community. We access funds that are available that the county is not, they don't have the time to access these funds, and they certainly don't have the time to administer it to our residents. What I'm asking for is a little bit more so that we can get more for our community. So we definitely want to pay back the county. I don't see funding the Housing Foundation as a burden to this county. I see it as a real advantage. We largely pay for our own overhead. We request a portion of the funding because it's impossible to obtain it elsewhere. Who else is going to support housing in Fluvanna County except those interested in housing in Fluvanna County? The government and the residents. We are mostly a residential community, so housing should be a major concern. Without funding from the county, we must reduce our outlay of funds, and we cannot provide support for acquiring grants that are available to our community, such as CDBG's Community Development Block Grants, that could be put into improving blighted properties, which improves all property values. Funding the FLHF at a more appropriate level for what we give back to the community is a win-win for the county and for the residents. We're on the same side. We're leaving funds on the table, and I know that's not what you guys want. We didn't request an increase for many years. That's not your fault, certainly. But I do believe an appropriate adjustment is needed to preserve the long-term viability of the foundation, which directly affects the residents here. And most of all, the most vulnerable residents of our community. Our housing issues are serious. Can I go on just one more minute?
One more.
Okay. Fork Union, for example, mean home age is 70 years. 71% of the homes were built prior to 1969. A third of the homes are valued under $80,000. Then you mix in the seniors, low-income households, you have a really difficult situation. Housing is economic development, particularly for our county, which is almost entirely residential. Investing in the Housing Foundation is investing in the community. We serve the most vulnerable, and our goal is to maintain rural character and improve housing. This is fiscal responsibility. We are preserving rural community, and right now is the time to focus on preserving and funding rural communities. There are funds out there, the state level, they're very interested in supporting the rural integrity, and they see us as an underserved area that they have missed out on. So there are funds out there that I want us to access and improve our community as a whole. So I appreciate what you guys are doing. I know this is a difficult position, and I thank you from the bottom of my heart. And I enjoy working with everybody here. So thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
My name is Moselle Booker. I don't know why I have a frog in my throat. 258 Bass Lane, Primar, Virginia. It's quite an honor to have lived a long time and you have some history. I have some history with Fluvanna Louisa Housing. I think Jerome was one of the original people that formed there with other citizens. I have been working with Fluvanna Louisa Housing for as long as I can remember. I started with Howard Evergreen and then with Dan Burke. And then we had Miss Kim to come forward, and she has done a remarkable thing with helping our communities. I have some personal stories. I remember when Jerome was suffering and getting ready to transition himself from this world. We had an elderly couple lived on 6th in a house that was beginning to fall down. He started working with Howard Evergreen. And not only did they replace that house, but he worked with the children. We just don't give away things. We put people in homes or whatever we do for them so that it's sustainable and that they can move forward and we can help them. This lady passed last year. She was 98 years old. Now her children are going to take over that particular home, a very small, modest home. For myself, I had a renter who was renting a cottage from me, a young girl working for the women's prison. She had 2 little boys. And I said to her, you cannot continue to rent. You need to find yourself an investment and you need to find a home. Go to Fluvanna Louisa Housing and see what they can do. At that time, they were building homes at Hoskin up here off of Boston, North Boston. And to this day, she's raising her children. She's still working. She has an investment. She has a home. This is her first home. She may be able to get a new home. When I was here last week at the board meeting, and when I saw that you had $75,000 for Fluvanna Louisa, I mean, I knew that wasn't what we asked for, but I felt really good about that. I felt like you had gotten the message and you knew what we were doing. Then I heard you talk about moving money from Hospice of the Piedmont. And I did not like that. I was coming back this week to say, let's don't take money from nonprofits and move it to another nonprofit. I don't know whether that $3,000 that you moved is still in there. And I looked on the budget today, I saw $26,250 for Fluvanna Louisa Housing. Now, if it's at 29, then evidently you moved the 3,000. I've had experience with hospice. Hospice made my life better and helping Jerome transition out of this world. There are so many people. I don't care how much money hospice may have in their endowment or whatever. I'm sure that they need to expand. They're doing a lot of things to help people through the most difficult time in their life. I hope you did not move that 3,000 too. And I'm not speaking for Fluvanna Louisa Housing. I'm speaking for Moselle. You know how much I support the nonprofits. Kim sent you all, and I pulled it off my computer. She sent you a link that says government nonprofit relationships. If you haven't read it, read it. There are steps that you could do. I know we have talked about looking at nonprofits in a different way. We've talked about, we've never gotten there. Maybe this is the time. I send you all minutes. There are about 61 nonprofits. All of them don't ask you for money. About 50 of them probably, maybe less than that. But we need to get to know them. And I'm not talking down to you, please, don't think I am, because I've sat there where you are. But I think that we can do a better job. And I think that Fluvanna, Louisa Housing is pulling out everything they can do. If you go through some communities, we don't want our communities blight with roofs falling. They are helping people get on their feet and get their places warm without roofs, water falling down on them. So thank you all for listening and thank you for all you do. I know what you do. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is James Kelly, 363 Manor Boulevard in Palmyra. I want to congratulate you on what is hopefully the last budget meeting for this calendar year. I wanted to thank you and communicate gratitude and optimism for the hard work that you've done over the last some odd months and for the fabulous budget. At least I had last seen it. Of course, there are always changes. I feel thankful for having some students from Mr. Pace's class here with us, that they get to see how government works and how adults disagree and communicate with respect and dignity to one another. And that they get to learn about the budgetary process and the way that we as the schools collectively interact with you all. I'm thankful to have some really talented staff with me as well here today, and certainly at your disposal. Beyond that, I know that you're making final decisions and trying to work to a balanced budget to the extent that there is any good news to be had in the upcoming discussion as it relates to revenue. I would like to re-articulate that our board did not pass or request in our recurring budget line for a population study that is too small for CIP, not really recurring because it's a one-time thing. And so to the extent that you are working through the budget and have the capacity and interest to include that in yours, we'd love to partner with you on that, not at the expense of the things that the board as a collective has communicated, but I know that even a year from now, we will regret not having commissioned the study to understand how many students are coming at what levels. And I am confident that the number is larger than any of us would like when we're trying to figure out where desks go in classrooms. And so I hope that you'll consider that. But regardless, I just want to thank you for all the time that we spent together. And I'm sure we got a couple hours left. So thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Seeing no one wishing to speak, we'll close the first round of public comments. We'll move on to appointments.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, we just have one appointment for the Jefferson Area Board for Aging Advisory Council Citizen Representative, Jenna Gates. So that's the one appointment. I'm happy to pull up the application if you want. It was in the board package, but
Yeah.
Agreed. You got one.
I
I move the Board of Supervisors approve the following board commissioner committee appointment. Board is Jefferson Area Board for the Aging, JABA Advisory Council, Citizen Representative, Ms. Jenna Gates, term beginning 5/1/24, ending 4/30/26.
second.
Motion made by Mr. Sheridan, seconded by Mr. Goode. All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Chair votes aye, 5-0.
And just on a side note, Eric, when you go back and let her know she got approved on this, on her application, she put down she was in the Palmyra district. She actually lives in Tony's district. Just so she's aware which district she's in.
I meant to ask today, when does the planning commission?
That'll be coming up at the first May meeting. Yes, the planning commission appointment will be at the board's meeting, first May meeting. And then the board will make that appointment, and then that planning commission member can actually then participate at the first May meeting for the planning commission too.
All right. Mr. Chair, before you move on to B, I should let him announce it first.
Yes, he can announce the item and then you can read it.
Yeah, we'll go on to item B, fiscal year 2025 operations budget and tax rates.
I'd like to make a statement before we get started, sir. On item 8B, fiscal year 2025 operations budget and tax rate. And on item 8C, fiscal year 2025-2029 capital improvements plan, I would like to disclose the following. Pursuant to the Code of Virginia, section 2.2-3115H as amended, I want to disclose that I have worked for Fluvanna County Public Schools. I'm sorry, I'm just looking at the date at the end. As a physical education teacher and bus driver since 1987. Because my salary as a physical education teacher exceeds $5,000, I have a personal interest in those transactions by the Board of Supervisors that would specifically affect my position with the Fluvanna County Public Schools. Nevertheless, Virginia Code 2.2-3112B1 allows me to participate in a broad range of transactions by the Board of Supervisors that generally affect the Fluvanna County Public Schools as long as I make a public disclosure. Since I intend to participate on and vote on the FY 2025 operations budget and tax rate and FY 2025-2029 capital improvements plan, I publicly declare in accordance with Virginia Code 2.2-3115H that I am a member of a group of 3 or more persons who work for the Fluvanna County Public Schools who are affected by the board's transaction of adopting a budget, tax rate, and capital improvement plan that affects Fluvanna County Public Schools. The transaction affects the public generally. And 3, I am able to participate in the adoption of the budget, tax rates, and capital improvement plan fairly, objectively, and in the public interest. I am asking the clerk to record this statement verbatim, maybe not the part about how old I am, in the minutes of the board. Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the board. I just have a few highlights to go over this evening before we get into any discussion. So the budget at this present time is totaling 107.3 million. And we have no increase to our tax rates this year, which is wonderful. So real estate will stay at 0.844. Personal property will stay at 410. Business and public utility personal property will remain at 290, and machinery and tools will remain at $1.90. Next slide, please. So these are just some brief overviews of our largest decreases and increases this year. As you can see, total county expenditures total county expenditures by increased total by 1.8 million from the FY24 amended budget, with some of the largest decreases being from capital improvement, debt service, and then the E911 department. Some of our largest increases are the schools, but there's an offset of 1.5 million from state and fed, with total coming back to the county of 340. Emergency services is increasing by 505 for operations and the implementation of Station 3. The clerk of the circuit court for position upgrades by 30K. Reassessment this year at 92,000. Sheriffs by 90,000 for increasing starting pay and compression, and of course COLA and health insurance. Next slide, please. New positions that were included in the budget this year increase are for EMTs, AMTs, and ALS for emergency services for Station 3, and then reclass for the clerk of the circuit court. And then we have positions that were not included this year, which were 2 new positions for the sheriff's department, 2 EMTs, AMTs, a part-time position, park maintenance worker for Parks and Rec, a program specialist for the library, and 2 position upgrades for the sheriff's department, as well as 1 reclass for the clerk of the circuit court. And that's all I have for you this evening.
Questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, yeah, Mr. Chair, let me just pull up the budget document here. Okay, so where we stand right now. So We've received some additional values from the Commissioner of the Revenue that amounts to an additional 69,000, a little under 70,000 for real estate revenue, and then a little over 20,000 for personal property tax. In addition, I wanted to bring the attention to a couple things to the board's attention too that we could add if the board wants. On this agenda, you have 3 advertisements for some additional fees for the county. One is a courthouse security fee increase, a jail processing fee, and then an errors recordation fee. The range of those fees could be anywhere from about 14,000 to about 21,000. So if we want to, assuming, again, I don't want to presuppose that the board is going to vote in favor of this at their upcoming meeting, but these are kind of no-brainer type of things for fees that we could implement for things that kind of offset our current costs as it stands. So wanted to get some discussion on that piece first before we get started any further. Would you want to include those fees in there, that additional revenue?
I couldn't see why not.
I think it's just a matter of how conservative or we want to get with the number. But yeah,
So, I mean,
You could do 16,000. That's kind of in the
I was
middle.
gonna say, take the low number of each
Yeah.
one if you want.
okay,
That's
That way we don't
14,000.
overestimate,
you want to do
not that that.
Three,
numbers don't make any
one.
difference.
And so right now we have an adjusted surplus of 106,824. A couple items to discuss. One, I know Ms. Treadway from the clerks came forward with a request, had a request, and there was some discussion at the last meeting. I know I spoke to Ms. Treadway. I know I spoke to Ms. Treadway about this. So there are a couple revisions and corrections that we noted in what she had presented. There was a couple positions based upon the methodology, how we reclass things that were actually lower than they should have been. So we see 2 positions that should be increasing. And then there's 1 position that I believe that I know she included for an increase that I believe should be removed from that increase. And like I said, if you want to have any conversation with her, you can certainly do so. But if the board says we want to increase the amounts of the 2 positions and decrease the amount of the 1 position, that is effectively about what that does to the budget is about a $3,000 increase of what was already provided in the budget for the clerk's office.
and that was just to assure continuity and making sure that
It
things were
is. It
standardized.
was to ensure the way that positions are reclassed, that they're done all kind of across board and all in the same manner.
Which I agree with doing so. If there's no, if we have a precedence, it'd be odd to change it now.
And so the only other thing is, and again, this is just kind of this is a technical thing, but again, we've added some different compensation things into some different departments or offices. So we could leave those there, or you could put them all into a personnel contingency category, or you can put them all into kind of the overall salary piece. But I mean, if not, if you want, if you're in agreement, I could add the 3,000 right there to increase that.
Yeah.
Right there.
Okay. And I will say, I know on the 1 item, Ms. Treadway wasn't sure if she agreed with me or not on the 1. But I know on the 2, as I brought those to her attention, I don't think she would argue with those 2. And then certainly, from the board standpoint, I know the Commissioner of Revenue brought forward a proposal as well for some reclasses of positions. So I guess I'll leave it up to the board to discuss that.
What was the total number on that?
So the total number using county's methodology for what we do with the increase is 19,000, call it 19,825.
I think we should put that.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we should plan for it inside of personnel contingency ultimately, right?
Do you want to do
Yeah.
personnel
I agree.
contingency or do you want to do BOS contingency?
I think it should be personnel, in my sense.
Agree.
I
And
think
the
we
only,
should- I
the
think we
only
should
reason, the only
probably
reason
add
I,
some
the only
additional-
reason I say that, if it's personnel contingency, that falls into, depending on the dollar amount, that falls into my purview. If it's BOS contingency, that falls into your purview.
Let's do it in BOS.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good point.
Just for clarification.
I mean, I think we should consider adding some additional funds into BOS contingency for some adjustments from that perspective.
I agree.
Only one thing, I mean, I have a couple of things stood out, but one item that we hadn't sort of talked about in the past and I've really touched on, but was brought up today, again, and I think it's wise for us to consider a population study. I think that's something that, the discussions in terms of starting for the schools, in terms of how they're going to meet capacity and demands in terms of the county, and then in terms of what we're going to do in term for planning for new school building for one of the departments is or two, whatever, it depends. But we know those things take years and years and years to happen, and probably makes sense for us to get a little bit ahead of the curve. I can't recall the amount that was, Mr. Kelly, Dr. Kelly,
I
was
thought
that
it was 30K.
Maybe
30,000? Yeah. Okay, 30,000.
Better when I thought. I was thinking 50 for some reason.
Yeah, I mean, I think would be wise for us to pencil that in. I think that benefits the schools and it benefits the board of supervisors as well. So other than that, that's my request. I'll leave any other requests out there for.
Well,
Other
here's
supervisors.
one thing that I would bring up. I talked about it at the last meeting when I said, we're addressing one, we need to look at all three. And do we put a slot of money into that contingency fund for that?
Yeah, that's what I was suggesting.
'Cause I don't know what that would be. 25?
Yeah.
So if you put in
BOS
25
contingency?
and third, I mean, if we're in agreement for the school studies, that's 30, 55. There's still some,
One thing I'd say about the school study is let's just, if we got it at the end, then. let's talk
yeah, no,
about
no,
that.
well, that's where,
I
I
think
mean, we
there's
can put the
other-
numbers in to see what they look like.
That's one of those things we can do if we need to. But We
Right.
can also do that at any point in time during the year out of.
No, this is why we go through this to
Yeah.
see where we are. I mean, this is, everybody can put in their kind of thoughts and then we can negotiate from there.
I guess, let's say as a general point, I don't feel the need to start spending that 83 because it's there kind of in the last minute. I don't mind not, I don't mind having that go towards our tax rate
I mean, yeah, certainly.
or
I
some
mean,
portion of it, whatever.
certainly some, I mean, whatever surplus you have, I mean, we can certainly go up and, I mean, even if you can change the tax rate from 84.4 down to 84.3 or change the personal property tax by some
Yeah.
fractional amount if you want, just to lower your surplus. I mean, again, or you can add things in as you're discussing.
I mean, what's there left due to, say, real estate? I mean, is it gonna have that much of a?
I mean,
We're only talking about
I mean-
$84,000 in a $109 million budget. Now,
I mean,
it is $84,000, but if you divide it up by household, you're talking about.
Pennies.
$80 a household.
Maybe.
Yeah, it's just more for me, it's the mentality of government not feeling the need to start spending what's. I will bring one thing up besides the treasurer's department. I'm just throwing it out there. We can come back and do it at a later time, but I was just saying, a lot of which, if we address just what's there. It would not hurt my feelings. What was the Fluvanna Legion Housing Foundation's total ask?
110,000. Well, you're.
We
it'll-
allotted-
I was like, where?
30.
I thought you said salary study because we were.
Yeah, he did, but
Okay.
no, I said population study.
Yeah, I meant population. So, I mean,
I agree with you on that. man.
So, do you want me to keep nonprofits open or closed?
Mr. Sheridan, did you want to have a wider conversation about that? Or do we want to get through some of those things and then come back to that?
I'd like, I brought it up a long time ago. And this is where we've got money. We're not raising taxes to do anything. We're still gonna have some money left over. I mean, 25,750, which is at the halfway point. I think that's-
I fundamentally, and I'm not arguing against the good work that they do, but I fundamentally find it really challenging to provide that substantial of an increase to one nonprofit. I mean, that would, if we put that in, I think that's almost a 75% increase over past. And I find that incredibly challenging. I think right now we gave them a 25% increase.
It's actually more than that with the
Yeah.
3,000.
With the 3,000
Yeah.
and, you know, as Mrs. Booker pointed out, I mean, I understand your point, Mr. Hodge, about, you know,
Put it where
hospice
the
in
need.
Piedmont and so on. And I think you guys all know my points on some other issues, which I won't mention, but you know, it's, you can't say enough about what the nonprofits do to begin with. And, you know, to battle over that is a tough thing, but fundamentally, you know, I would certainly invite Ms. Highland to come back next year and ask for another increase and go from there. But I have a real challenge with that.
So
That actually be a 50%.
They're at 21.
It'll be more than.
I thought you were talking maybe try to get them a little closer to 30, not double what they got there.
Oh, yeah.
I thought he was asking for another 20,000.
I thought that's what he was at.
Yeah, I thought you were asking.
I said if we did $25,750, it would make it 55,000, which would be half of what their ask was. And I know we brought up that their ask was 400%.
That'd be,
Numbers were brought to us, they did 400% more in this county last year than they did the year before. Just go 25% and say that's a huge.
that would be 100%. That would be more than 100% increase. And I think you open up, you know, reasoning for every other nonprofit to come in and say, well, you know, I need 100% increase. Or, I mean, I certainly am very sympathetic to the cause of what they do, but
Doing the same amount next year.
With the current.
certainly very sympathetic.
425,000 dropped to 150,000.
With the current funding amount in there, the board, additional amount the board provided, that's a 39% increase over 24's budget.
So they were at 26,250 advertised. They're at 29,250 now, correct?
Correct.
That's what I did for it.
The closest, I'm sorry,
Oh, go ahead, Chris.
so the closest other ones, you had a couple that increased to 25, right?
Yes, it was
Surcap.
Surcap. They did a 25%. Again, their request was pretty small to begin with. They were at 1315 and they went up to 1645.
I think that's red apples to green apples there. When
Yeah,
you're talking 25% increase.
Grapes to apples.
Central Virginia Small Business Development Center, we did a 25% increase, and then Rivanna Conservation Alliance, a 25% increase.
Well, I've said my piece. I'm happy we went up.
I mean, if we've got 3 votes to talk about spending the 90,000 that's left there, I want to have a conversation about some of that going to Fluvanna Louisa Housing Foundation for sure. I don't know that I'm quite with you, Mr. Sheridan, on the 25,000. I think, honestly, I would love to say, hey, yeah, let's write it and let's do it. I think I'm more concerned with the precedent there. You know, you look back at some of the budgets last year, there was a lot of standardization with the nonprofits. I think everybody got what, Mr. Dahl? Across the board, a 5% increase across the board. We've already kind of crossed the bridge of fluctuating that a little bit this year and coming off of that standardization, which I think we all realized and discussed that there was a need in some of these things. And as I've said a couple of times, sometimes you have to ask for things, and it was a big ask. I think making an effort to maybe get them a little bit more as we're having these conversations about where the rest of this money goes, I could certainly get on board with. I don't know if it's the $25,000 variety. You know,
I would be comfortable with $5,000 myself.
I can do that also.
Like I said, I'd rather have 25.
I mean, I see their good work every day, and I mean, anytime you're at a fire rescue call and there's a ramp out there and it helps them get the patient out, it improves the quality of life for the people, allows them to stay in their own house. I've seen the photos of the roofs being improved. I mean,
I think you have to consider when you do one thing one year, what obviously that's going to send a message and you're going to have another request, you know, the next year. I think, I mean, if we went up, what did you say, Mr. O'Brien?
I suggested 5,000.
And so that would, if we got them right up to, what would that be? 34,250?
Correct.
And what would that be, a percentage increase of what they asked for of what they got last year from the board?
46.
Yeah, probably 31.
63%.
That's big. That's a big increase.
That's a big increase, and I think that's probably, you know, probably pulling some from an increase we would give them next year to get them some this year to get some work done and get some things going. You
And
know,
I do that saying I would want to restore the other funds that we took out, but you know, I'm not going to get into a fight about that right now. So
So close this out and were we,
so are we going 5 there? Extra 5? I think it was with the decision. Yeah.
I will note that you can see the good work that the FLDP does in the county all every day. As
Are
well,
you
too.
going there?
No, just wanted to make that note. Just wanted to make that note. I will note.
Y'all can have that conversation. Blue 53 later.
I mean,
Hopefully.
I think that my suggestion with anything that's left over is to put it in contingency and leave it there to see whatever comes up. I think when you're talking under 80,000 and you're moving fractions of penny on the real estate rate.
I don't think we put in the $30,000 for this the study
No.
yet, though.
You don't?
Did you put the 30,000?
I have 30. So I guess the question is for the 30,000 and so going back to the comments, I mean, to me, I mean, I don't know if that's a county thing or if that's a school thing. I'm not sure where that falls into and again, it can be a county thing. I'm just not sure. I mean, so I guess.
But
I'm not a big fan of it. It's for building the school. You know, when we might be building the next school. We can start planning for it, so we're not sitting trying to scramble to.
You wait long enough, inflation might make it go up so you can get it as a CIP request.
Mr. Chair, can we maybe ping Dr. Gretz to see if normally how does that fall within the realm of schools county?
But would a population study also not benefit us to know how many people we have in each district? Because I mean, it seems some districts have all the building growth going and others don't.
Good evening.
So Dr. Gretz, just, I mean, from your experience, because you've dealt with these before, I mean, is that normally a school function or is that a county function?
In my limited experience, typically it would be a part of the school's budget.
Yeah.
I will just say, I think in a small place like this, I don't think either of us can divorce ourselves from the process or the burden or whatever you want to say.
I mean,
ultimately, I don't know that it, from my point of view, I don't think it matters.
And again, I think really I get to this from a technical standpoint. Does this go into the school's budget again? Because I can't imagine that the county is going to contract for this. And are we, again, there may be some collaboration on, all of us providing data potentially or some metrics, but I think really this would probably be led by the schools mostly is my thinking.
So would this mean we would, instead of putting it here, add it to the school's budget? Is that what, I mean, we're talking $30,000 from the county either way. It's just a matter of where it's at.
Correct. Yeah, that's all it is. I mean, to me, that's what it is. And then the school would have to, they would be the ones to lead that charge.
So it was brought up when we had a finance meeting between the schools and county, and then it's been brought up here by the schools again tonight. It is clearly typically a school's item, in my opinion. That's why I keep coming there. Also, there's a bigger conversation about schools they have capacity, they have a lot of capacity, but not necessarily within the grades that they.
Either way, I mean, schools or county, I would just recommend that if we're not doing it, that the school board in turn approves it and gets the job done sooner than later.
Why are you suggesting waiting, Mr. Chair?
I'm not suggesting.
Oh,
waiting.
I'm sorry, Mr.
The
Chair.
only thing I was gonna say is this would be, to me, something you could ask for 30,000 out of Sherry.
Yeah, absolutely. And if we're not going to say yes to it now, then it just goes into the contingency funds and we can address it later on. So I don't have any objection, but by the same token, if we had 3 head nods for putting it in there.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm not gonna argue either way.
So,
I'm just throwing that up there as another way.
What's the likelihood that it can be covered by carryover? Pretty good. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I hope,
If they get closer than that.
I'm saying, I know that, but they have to obviously
That's
prioritize where it would be. I mean, that would,
Maybe
It's
Ms.
a little
Gillum's,
different ballgame this year.
yeah, maybe Ms. Gillum's crystal ball is working really well.
No,
I guess the better question would be, what's the likelihood that you would want to spend carryover on it? And I guess, and the reason I'm asking that is, if it's the first thing you're going to spend carryover on, then it shows me it's a priority. If it's not, then it shows me it's not a priority, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I think, I can't speak for the school board. I think it's very likely that that would be something that we would want to use carryover for. It's what we requested this past year for carryover. We did. And that was something Mr. Dahl and I kind of agreed on. That would be a perfect place for that to come from. And I think it would be. I think we're late on it. And I've said that since I got here. I just want to go on record saying that. I think this is something that needed to be done a while ago.
I feel like we've been through a multi-month budget season. It hasn't been an item we've discussed. If there's a way to deal with it another way.
Well, with that, I would recommend that we put the balance into contingency and I'd be willing to make a motion if we're ready to move forward.
I'm ready for that.
Oh, I'm sorry. With that, I would be willing to put the balance into contingency, BOS contingency, and make a motion to approve the budget. So I don't know if staff needs some time and we need to table this.
Well, we do, because we still have some excess. I mean, so,
I was going to put all the excess into contingency.
all the excess in contingency.
To BOS
Oh, okay.
contingency.
That 19,825 plus the 78,999.
Okay. Do I have consensus on that? Is that the?
I mean, so just, I'm not opposed, but why not put it into the personal property?
Because we have,
It's just
Oh,
not
I'm
enough
sorry.
to do a difference.
I mean,
It was 170, right?
Yes, I mean, yes, you could, you could do less than a nickel, but yes, you can, yes.
408 or 407. Yeah. It was always.
it's not,
I've been here. We kept it at a nickel.
if we're talking a couple $100 a household, I mean, how much are we talking really realistically if you own a median cost vehicle?
depends on the
You
vehicle.
take that number and divide it by the number of vehicles in the county.
Well, divided by the the cost of the vehicle too, right? So-
Well, there's probably 25, 30,000
No, I know
vehicles in the
that.
county, so it's
Same.
$2 a vehicle.
Simple math would be,
It just,
how many vehicles you think there are? 30,000 vehicles?
Yeah,
So you're looking at $3.
Just throwing this out there. I don't know if y'all are gonna look at me like I'm crazy, but I mean, we did talk about some things. I mean, I guess, well, we already have the half COLA in there. And we also talked about, I mean, the sheriff had 3% instead of 5. We went down, but I certainly would probably support moving into contingency if that's what it goes.
well, that's a motion basically. So if there's a second for my motion, then we can proceed. If there's not, then.
I'll second that motion.
Okay.
I will just throw this one out there, Mr. Coach, things out there, wait for y'all to throw stuff at me. 72,000 cars got us a half a year of 1%. Another 72,000 would get us a whole year.
Point of order, motion's been made. The chair needs to call the motion. And then we can have discussion. I mean,
Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Could you restate the motion for the clerk? Because it was,
basically that we move the balance into contingency and that they then approve the budget, tabling and allowing staff to go ahead.
We're gonna have to step away so they can put numbers there. Anyway, we can't-
Correct.
We have a motion by Mr. O'Brien, seconded by Mr. Hodge.
Do you want discussion, Mel, Mike?
Discussion.
Well, that was my one thing. I just said it.
Okay, what are you suggesting?
That we did 72,000 would make it 1% for the whole year. The half, we did the 1% in January 1 that was 72,000, I believe. 72,149. So we can make that 1% for the whole year. For another 72,149. Like I said, yeah, I knew nobody else would agree with me on that.
And I'm gonna try to be careful in what I'm saying, but you know, we made some decisions that I guess I would say we'd have had an extra working session to work some things out, and I probably would have had conversations differently. I don't know. I think that I could get on board with what Mr. Sheridan's saying. If we're just gonna move it to contingency, why not do a little extra something for the staff? I would probably be a number 2 there. You know, it's just my thought.
I mean, I'm not amending my motion, so, that's.
Like I said, I'm just throwing it out there. Seems like it's only 2.
I know where he's at probably. What about you?
I want to progress this progress, but I also know that 1% for a whole year. No, I'm going to stick with my initial second of the motion, leave it in contingency. 6 extra months of it. They're going to get the 1% come January moving forward.
We all advocate for what we care about. I'm not arguing against that part. So. All right.
We have a motion by Mr. Sheridan, so by Mr. O'Brien, seconded by Mr. Hodge. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Chair votes aye, passes 5.
All right.
Okay, so let me just.
Yeah, so with all these things, I mean, finance is gonna need to put all these things in the right categories to get the resolution, all the motions taken care of. And Ms. Melton, you have what you need?
Which means we go on to D.
Yes, so let me
we
see.
have C, unless are we tabling C as well?
I think you just approve them both at the same time, I
Okay.
would say.
B and C.
Yeah. I mean, since they're both budget, I mean, they're both budget related. Yeah.
So going on D.
Yeah, let me just give 1 second. Oh, yeah.
I think we need a motion to table C, because I think you just.
I'd like to
tabled
make a
B.
motion to table number 6 for the next, whatever.
Number eight,
Eight.
C.
Number
B
8,
and C.
8C,
I second.
until staff is ready.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. O'Brien, seconded by Mr. Hodge, all in favor, say
Aye.
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 Technical, aye. All right, 5-0.
Just the screen was throwing them off.
Flashing lights.
I will point out that we just had another 5-0 budget vote, so. Yeah.
Well, we don't-
Still have to vote for the budget, but I hope it's 5-0.
Cheers. Still have to vote, yeah. That's
There's
true.
still time to jerk the rug out.
Trust
for Charlie Brown.
People changed their minds on the last time.
That's true. I mean, I've still got that crop.
Item D is authorization to advertise for public hearing for the 2-1-5 the county code to increase court costs.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. So Clerk of Court, Ms. Treadway, had brought 3 different proposed ordinances to myself and Mr. Daw. And so they'll be the next 3 items. So Virginia Code Section 53.1-120 was amended in 2020 to increase the maximum amount of costs in each criminal or traffic case in district or circuit court from $10 to $20. And the funds have to be used for courthouse security personnel and if requested by the sheriff, equipment and other personal property used in connection with courthouse security. So the proposed amendment to County Code Section 2-1-5 would increase the cost from $10 to $20, and the funds shall be used for courthouse security personnel. The other language I added is that there's additional language under the state code where the funds could be used if requested by the sheriff for equipment and other personal property used in connection with courthouse security. So I added that language as well. So the estimated revenue would be $10,000 to $15,000, and the public hearing would be May 15th. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Nope.
I move that the Board of Supervisors advertise the amendments to the county code to amend section 2-1-5 for a public hearing to be held May 15th, 2024.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Goode, second by Mr. Mock, all in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Chair votes
There's
aye.
one absence. Yeah.
D, authorization to advertise for public hearing. We have 2-1-6 of the county code to authorize the regional jail process.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. So this was another potential code section that was brought to our attention. So basically, section 15.2, 1613.1 of the Code of Virginia authorizes a processing fee, $25 for any individual admitted to the regional jail following conviction in general district circuit court. And the fees shall be ordered as part of the court costs, and they would be collected by the clerk, deposited into the account of the treasurer, and then used for the sheriff by the sheriff's office to defray the costs of processing the arrested persons. So the proposed amendment to the county code would enact this new code section 2-1-6 to authorize the $25 processing fee. I did look at surrounding jurisdictions, and a lot of jurisdictions in the area, even ones that use the Central Virginia Regional Jail, already have this ordinance in their county codes as well. So the estimated revenue would be $3,000 to $5,000 per year, and the public hearing would be May 15th.
Thanks. So you're gonna put them in jail and pop them with $25.
Cost of doing business.
I move the Board of Supervisors advertise the amendments to the county code to enact section 2-1-6 for a public hearing to be held May 15th, 2024.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Bryan, second by Mr. Goode, all in favor?
Aye.
And opposed, chair votes aye, passes 4-0.
One absence.
F, authorization to advertise for public hearing to amend 20-6-1, 20-6-2, and 20-6-3 to authorize a recordation.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. So this is another potential revenue ordinance. Virginia Code Section 58.1-3805 authorizes the governing body to charge a $25 fee for the recordation of a list of heirs pursuant to 64.2-509 or an affidavit pursuant to 64.2-510 as provided in 58.1-1717.1. So the proposed amendment to the county code section 20-6-1 would charge the fee of $25 for the recordation of the list of heirs or the affidavit, unless the will has been probated for the decedent or there's been a grant of administration on the decedent's estate. The estimated revenue would be $1,000 annually, and the public hearing would be May 15th. Have they answered any questions?
I think it's your turn to make a motion.
It is. I move the Board of Supervisors advertise the amendments to County Code 20-6-1, 20-6-2, and 20-6-3 for a public hearing to be held on May 15th, 2024.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Hodge, second by Mr. Goode, all in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. 4-0 with one absent. Item G, authorization to advertise for a public hearing to amend 4-2-2 and 4-2-5 of the county code to add a definition of violation.
So this is more a clarification to the county code. So amendments to section 4-2-2 of the county code were made on September 20th of last year regarding the prohibition of dogs running at large in the county, in the whole county. And then section 4-2-5 was enacted on January 17th of this year regarding the prohibition on unrestricted dogs, which is basically the leash ordinance for county parks, county property. So when my office first brought one of these cases in general district court, the judge had questions regarding what is a violation. Since our ordinance states there's a civil penalty of a third violation, is a violation each time someone comes to court and is found guilty, or is it each time a law enforcement officer completes a criminal incident report, which was the intent of the ordinance. So to clarify the ordinance, we're proposing a definition of violation, which would basically state that a violation means each time a criminal incident report is filed by a sworn law enforcement officer for the violation. So I did share this ordinance with the sheriff's office and with Animal Control Deputy Strong, and they were all okay with the language, and public hearing would be May 15th. Any questions?
Mike, I think.
Mike, it's your turn, brother.
I move the board to advise the amendment to the county code, section 4-2-2 and section 4-2-5. public hearing to be held May 15th.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Sheriff, second by Mr. Hodge, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Chair votes aye, 5-0.
And maybe, excuse me, maybe I think because we whipped through those things pretty quick.
I talked too quickly.
Yeah, I think maybe why don't we keep on trucking along through the rest of the items and then we can do the budget at the end.
Just consent.
Yeah, it's consent, and then there's the one item I brought up regarding the new business about the grant.
Okay. Anybody have anything else for the-
I move that we adopt the consent agenda as presented. Is that-
Yes, I did.
Motion made by Mr. Goode, second by Mr. O'Brien, all in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Board, Chair votes aye. 5-0. Finished business.
Mine was new business. Mine was new business.
Yeah, I'll just mention two things. One, I talked with Eric about at some point, maybe around September or so, we want to start having conversations with the school. Have those discussions we talked about last week regarding categorized the bad and second, Briary Creek asked about that. And just take a couple of-
Yeah, I mean, I can just tell you, I mean, again, I know it was, the request was denied by the planning commission, and so it was coming forward to the board. And I know prior to coming forward to the board, the applicant wanted to have some meetings on site with supervisors, and I know the board members had met. I don't know which ones had met on site to kind of look at the proposal. Since that point, the attorney for the applicant had sent Mr. Witten a letter requesting a perpetual deferral. And so I don't know if that's necessarily allowed, but I'll let Mr.
So
Witten-
basically, it's not allowed because within 12 months of the planning commission holding their public hearing, basically the board has to make a decision. So I'm going to follow up with Mr. Blaine. I haven't heard of him since that point. And so I'll follow up with him because he does need to give us a date when he's done. Otherwise, he's don't have to withdraw the request. If he's not to be able to meet that 12-month, you can defer it beyond 12 months, but you need to give a definite date. So if he can't meet that 12-month, then he's gonna have to either withdraw the request, or he's gonna have to give us a definite date after that 12-month period. So I'll follow up with him. Actually, I'd sent him an email the other day. We had a potential phishing email from him. And so I emailed him back, but I hadn't heard back. So he might be out of the country right now or something.
So did determine, so I was thinking, so first of all, it's only two of us. That's been out there. I've never met him. Yeah.
I made it out there. I mean, I know they intend to follow up. I know the situation's changed a little bit.
Did they indicate, it sound like you all got a reason as to why? Did they indicate to you that they may be deferring, Mr. O'Brien?
They indicated to me exactly what Mr. Whitten said, was that they wanted to ask for, deferral indefinitely is what they said, but that's not allowed. Whether they can figure out what they're trying to do next within the period here is up to them to do, but I know that they intend to follow up regardless of that, so.
And if they were to do just their new phase one, which is all alcohol, except for, I think, the events building. Events would still have to get the event approved, so you get the agricultural attention.
Yeah, no, that's still what all happened. So, I mean, yeah, I mean, they're still excited about the potential of doing something there, but things have changed in terms of that. I don't feel at liberty to go beyond that.
So, all I had, everybody else.
Go ahead. And just a real quick thing. It's not flushed out yet, but Rotary has been working with Jennifer, I believe, and with Aaron a little bit, and with me. They want to do similar to the information hut that we have at the park there. Something very similar for the bike trail here at 53 Bike Trail, little rest stop / bike repair kind of place, information standing. So you'll be receiving more information about that. Just giving the heads up on that, but they're not asking for any real commitment from the board other than maybe a concrete pad from Parks and Rec or from facilities there, Public Works. So just giving you a heads up on that.
I was just gonna bring something up. We discussed it. We talked about going down to the national.
NACO.
NACO.
Yeah.
NACO event, yeah. We're going down there next weekend on vacation. We'll go by there.
I think NACO was just in a place close by. Yeah.
That would come out of board contingency funds.
Well, I mean, we definitely didn't budget for that. So, I mean, it would have to come out of BOS contingency or unless.
But that is one of
Now I see why Tony wanted to move it over to BOS.
No, but that's,
Tampa.
that is one of the items.
I'm joking.
Yeah.
I'm joking.
Yeah, no. That is one of the items that, typically falls under BOS contingency is education, and, certainly NACO would fall under that, so. And we haven't had a lot of participation in NACO, as a group. But, for the presentations they make at VACO and the advocacy they do for it, certainly suggests that there's a lot to be gained from doing it.
All the rural counties around. Every year, the national agency, I think it is. They have, it's one part of it. I don't think the national rotates everywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all over the country. The DC one is just where they go up there, like we go to Richmond. They go to Washington to lobby.
You good?
Yeah.
Okay. One quick thing for me, and this might be more for Aaron. Someone sent me an email today about the concrete at the senior center or the community center, particularly where they're growing the food in the garden in the back. Concrete's coming up pretty bad there. So just want to put that on your radar.
We actually had that on the radar, not all the
Yeah.
time.
Public Works.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, prior to Mr. Hickman's departure, I talked to Mr. Hickman about that. So I'll follow up with Mr. Kreitzer and kind of see where we go with that.
Okay.
Yeah, because I brought that up. The sidewalks back there are definitely a tripping hazard.
Okay.
They're
I'll get back with it. I think the person, It was one of those things where their name's not in their email. But it was, I think, someone from the cooperative extension. Was that to all of us? I thought it was directed at me. Maybe not.
Somewhere talking, I saw something somewhere where they're talking about.
Okay. And then, real quick, Eric, I think it still says 25 miles an hour at the old fire station.
Yeah, the VDOT's still working on. that.
Okay.
Yeah, VDOT's, that is on VDOT's radar. They just have to go through all of the regulatory oversight to make
Yeah.
sure that all their Ts are crossed, but they think that sign was put in without the necessary authorizations to put it in, so they feel that as soon as they do all their due diligence and find out if that was the case, then they'll just be able to remove the sign.
Yeah,
So
I've seen it. It's bad out there.
Yeah.
And not the
Thank you.
25 mile an hour thing.
Tim, you're something.
Yeah, did we get any follow-up from VDOT on the Route 53 state study from Martin King's Road?
not yet.
Not yet. The next item I had was at the end of every one of our board packets is the 2-year plan. Can we get an update on that? And are we gonna have a retreat sometime
Well,
this year?
that was one thing I was gonna bring up once we got through budget is trying to have a discussion with the board. If the board wants to do a kind of a strategic planning retreat and stuff like that, but,
And the next one, at some point in one of the 2 meetings coming up, can we have an update on the new admin building and where we're at on that project?
yeah, I can tell you that one's not moving as fast as I would like it is, but, I can give you an update.
Yeah.
Anything else?
That was my.
No, in case you were looking for head nods, I mean, my opinion is that a board retreat with 2 new members makes a lot of sense, but
Yeah.
you know, it's my opinion, so.
Nice to drive by Ramo Road to see the work that's going forward. On East River and Ramo.
Yeah, and the good news is we got our Army Corps of Engineers
Yeah.
permit for the water intake, which is a huge monumental undertaking and task to start moving forward. So.
Absolutely.
There's a question of whether it would.
No, I mean, not necessarily. I mean, we felt really good about the new location. It just, anything with this project was.
Not done yet.
Yes, it's not done until it's done. Type of thing, so.
New business.
Yeah, so the one thing I have,
Oh, I thought we were on new business. That's why I was confused.
Well, yeah. OAR, they kind of are our administrator for drug court, and Ms. Treadway and myself, we're on kind of the local drug court advisory committee. They want to apply for kind of a regional grant through the opioid abatement authority, and the regional grant application, I don't have the exact amount. I think it's right around $500,000. What they're asking for is they're asking for a letter of support from the localities, and then a contribution, a match contribution of $5,000 from each locality. The nice thing is, so the county has received in fiscal year 23 a little over 57,000 in opioid funds. Fiscal year 24, we've received 13,000. And I think Miss Melton said we've got probably about 6 more transactions to record too as of recent. 6 more, yeah. So the opioid abatement funds are very specific for their use, and a direct disbursement and a use for this match would be allowable. And so I just wanted to get some board authorization if the board would be good to commit that amount of money forward on that. And I had Ms. Treadway stay here and I can read what it's for, and because she's probably more in the know of kind of what drug court does. And so it talks about if granted the OAA funds, OAR would hire a regional special docket administrator, a peer recovery support team manager, and 3 peer recovery support specialists. These new positions would greatly enhance OAR's ability to deliver accessible quality service to individuals who have been most adversely affected by the opioid crisis. PRSSs have a unique, impactful role in support special dockets, as they are out in communities meeting participants where they work and live. They have lived experience and offer connection, transportation to services and recovery supports. The regional SD administrator would oversee the existing 5 programs and the PRST, Peer Recovery Support Team, would actively advocate for the development of additional programs where they currently do not exist. So just wondering if the board would be supportive of one, a letter of support, and then using those opioid funds that we get specifically for this. Just want to give you a heads up before you're ready to put stuff.
I move the board of supervisors.
Aye.
No, I'm in favor. I was gonna just say a comment there.
Then as far as CIP, again, the resolution's pretty cut and dry. It just talks about why we did the CIP. The motion.
Aye.
Chair, before we move on, I just want to thank county staff and everybody who participated in this process for all their hard work.
Yes, very much
It's
so.
always a difficult job, and certainly we appreciate everything that everybody brings to the table.
All right. Going for second round of public comment, anybody wishing to address the board? Come to the podium, state your name and address. Please remember to keep your comments 5 minutes on topic.
Finding ways to consider.
Anybody else? Seeing nobody.
Motion to adjourn.
Sorry.
I did.
So Brian made a motion, second by Mr. Sheridan. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Before it goes on, yeah. Oh, there was one, I had a meeting on.
That was because of Juneteenth. I think we moved it. Yeah, don't show up on Wednesday like you did for that work session.
Did you decline it? Did,
We did.
We voted.
We're adjourned.
We're adjourned. Yeah. No, we didn't vote? We didn't. Oh, okay.
Somebody made the motion, second. Motion by O'Brien, second by Sheridan, all in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
No. All right, you're gonna get home by 9.
Hey. I got home at 4:30.